Hey guys, kinggath here with another patch for Sim Settlements 2. This is patch 2.3.2, which I'm calling Before the Darkness. It was very important I said it dramatically like that. I can't have a name like that without some drama. That actually is referring to the fact that we are going to go dark on patches for a couple of months. I'll talk more about why that is at near the end of the video, because I think most of you guys just want the patch notes and then to get out. So we'll save the details for later. I'll just quickly say that basically we're not going to have any more patches until Chapter 3 launches. But before we get into the details of these patch notes and that explanation, we've got to thank our patrons. You guys are keeping the lights on in the darkness, pun intended, because you guys make sure that we don't have to dig into our pockets to cover all the expenses of building and maintaining all the servers that help the community keep going around this mod. And you guys are awesome for that. So I'm going to give a shout out to a handful of you. If I don't get to you today, I will get to you in a future video, because while we are going dark on patches, I am not going dark on videos. So I still will be doing my weekly live streams and the news videos at the end of every month. So a huge shout out and thanks to Karen, Fred Milano, Emmanuel Bertoni, Armand, Brian Wallace, Mr. Harold A. Baxendell, and Jace Mass. Thank you guys, and thank you everybody who's been sending me donations in other ways. I occasionally get the PayPal one-off donation or Steam gift card, and you guys are awesome too. So let's get into it. Let's talk some patch notes. So first up to note, there are updates to Workshop Framework, SS2, Chapter 2, and Extended. Now the reason I'm bringing up Extended is because it turns out I had put it up on Bethesda.net and forgot to update it for basically a year. And so I just updated it a couple of weeks ago to get you guys up to date on Bethesda.net for PC players. Obviously, it's not available on Xbox because of size limitations. And then I updated it again today, and I will keep it up to date going forward. It was a mistake that it was never updated. Just basically, I have a template that I use for patch days to remember what all I have to do, and it just never got added to my template, so I just kept forgetting. So my apologies to PC players who use Bethesda.net who are using Extended, and that is now up to date. So speaking of Extended, that's a great point to segue into talking about Xbox players. So Xbox players, one of the most common things I see on all my videos is how the heck is Chapter 3 going to fit on Xbox? And part of this patch is how we're going to do it. So what we've been doing over the development of SS2 is looking for things that aren't necessary for the mod to run. So when I say necessary for the mod to run, I mean you need basically all the code, you need one building plan for each of the classes, and you need the voice files. So you need to be able to actually hear what the characters are saying. Beyond that, almost everything else is kind of fluff. So right now you hear the soundscape. There's a reason I'm in this settlement. That you hear the soundscape, and you can probably see some holiday decorations like bunny ears, because I believe it's April in my save. And those are two of the things that we have moved to Extended and out of Xbox. Now we did it in a way that your game will safely be able to load without those meshes. We basically swapped them out for blank meshes so that they could be considerably smaller. And we're going to keep doing stuff like that for the 3.0 patch to make sure we have enough room for Chapter 3. So the optimal experience for SS2 is always going to be on PC, just because you guys have this massive limitation, and that is going to be with Extended. So PC players, if you're not using Extended yet, now's the time to do it, because you're about to lose some stuff, and you're going to lose even more, because I don't want to have to maintain 3 different branches, one for Extended, one for non-Extended, and one for Xbox. That would be a nightmare. So instead, we've just basically got 2 branches. You're either on Extended or you're not. And so if you're not using Extended on PC, I highly recommend you get it. So yeah, so Xbox players, if you're wondering how we're going to make Chapter 3 fit, I've got a plan. The goal is to get all 3 chapters with the minimal viable product, as it were, and have room for Workshop Framework, and give you guys a couple 100 kilobytes left over at the end to squeeze on whatever utility mods you need to actually play through all the chapters. And then in the distant future, we will add a framework mode for those of you guys who have played the story out and you're tired of it, where you'll be able to get just the core mechanics of SS2. That I believe we can get under 1 gig, where it would just be building plans and the code, and then that will give you guys another option to play in the future without the story content, but still have the mechanics and play with a lot of your other mods. So that's the plan for Xbox. All right, now let's get into some more patch notes stuff for everybody. First up is the disease system. So I think the common refrain on the disease system is that it is way too difficult. And so I've taken that to heart. We kind of neutered it in the last patch, or maybe the patch before, where we took incapacitation, which is the primary penalty mechanic of diseases, and we made that off by default. And so now basically diseases are mostly flavor, but if you're playing hardcore, they're a lot more than that. And so for hardcore players, I think this is where these changes are going to have the biggest impact. So we made two big changes to the disease system. One is that diseases without known cures, that is the diseases that you can't just immediately use disease cure on, are not introduced until after the hospital is unlocked, since the hospital is the primary source of curing unknown diseases. And then after that, diseases will more slowly be introduced. Their introduction rate is now tied to your empire population. And empire population is just all of your settlements combine their population together. So for example, if you had 3 settlements with 10 each, your empire population is 30. We take 5% of your population rounded down, and that is the highest level of disease you could run into. So until you get to 41 settlers, you wouldn't be able to see even a level 2 disease. Same with level 3 settler disease won't show up until you have 60 settlers, etc. So this should make it a lot more gradual, and you guys playing hardcore, you can then control it a little bit by just making sure you keep your population under certain limits by turning off things like your recruitment beacon. Speaking of turning stuff off, one of the reasons we're in front of the communications building is we've added a new holotape and MCM setting. So I'm going to show an MCM because it's quicker, but you can get this in the holotape. Not only can you change this on the holotape, you can change it at the local level on your city planner's desk. And what this new setting will do is change the way the communications building class works. So by default, the communications building class works with some of our beacon systems, but it also changes the way recruitment works. So it basically changes it to, instead of being tied to your charisma plus 10, it instead now is tied to the max number of beds in that settlement. But for some players, that system doesn't work correctly. As you guys can have maybe noticed in this save, I've had this communication planned for the entire Let's Play, or ever since I unlocked it. So it's been in here for dozens of hours, and I've never run into this bug, but a lot of folks do. So now those of you guys who are having that bug where you just keep getting settlers forever and it doesn't acknowledge the number of beds you have, you can come in here and turn this communication set max settlers to off, and you won't have it mess with your max settlers any longer. So that's a new setting that'll help folks who are having that particular bug. And then the next thing I have on my list to talk about is the recruitment clipboard. So the recruitment clipboard is what you use to recruit folks to HQ, and we actually need that same clipboard for a mechanic. It looks like for some reason I don't have it. Oh, there it is. Or we need it for some mechanics in the 3.0 system. And since the recruitment clipboard was part of Chapter 2, I needed to move it to SS2. So I was able to do it mostly automatically. It'll be invisible to you guys, and so this will a change you don't have to do anything for, with one exception. If you happen to have put your recruitment clipboard in a random container, say you stored it in your settlement or somewhere, you're going to want to go grab that version and scrap it and make a new one at your city planner's desk, because the old one you have is still tied to Chapter 2, which means it's going to not function perfectly correctly. I don't remember, there was one feature about it, I can't even remember what it was because I did it weeks ago, that will not be supported. So if you have an old recruitment clipboard that isn't in your inventory, if it's in your inventory, it'll get swapped automatically. If you haven't picked it up yet in your save, then it will automatically be fixed. So it's only those of you, few of you who probably took their clipboard and stashed it somewhere. Those ones that you stashed need to be manually updated to work with SS2. It's very likely that that is something none of you will run into. I'm sure I could have come up with a way to automate that, but I figure if it's locked away in a container, you're probably not using it anyway. You probably won't notice, but just wanted to bring it up just in case, because I didn't come up with an easy solution for those that you had stashed away, because I have no way to detect that. And now thinking about it as I'm talking about it, I just thought of a way to solve it, but too late for that, because like I said, we're going dark. I gotta get on to 3.0, or we're never gonna see Chapter 3. All right, then the last thing I have on my list that's worth mentioning is those of you guys who have been playing through CPD and noticed over the last few patches that Act 3, the point in the, and I know the acts aren't exposed to you guys, but there's the last arc of that quest line where Shandy tells you to go meet up with the squad over at the hut that has Pete and Patty in it. And a lot lot of you guys have reported that that hasn't happened for you. We did find that there is a potential issue with certain mod conflicts. It also might happen without mod conflicts. We're not sure, but I made some changes to that to try and address that issue. And I have it rigged up to automatically start up Act 3 if it's detected that you had that problem. So as soon as you load up into your save, Shandy should appear near you, or I believe it'll either happen after you load up the save or after you fast travel the next time. Shandy should show up and give you the next objective to continue that quest line. So if you already did the BADTFL raid and the judge quest from Simon, and you still didn't proceed after that in the quest line, then you're one of the ones suffering from that particular bug. So that has been resolved. Now, like I said, tons and tons of bug fixes. Please go check the patch notes. They're linked below. Lots of details on those. I touched a ton of quests, a ton of systems to try and fix up all the various bugs that have been reported over the last year or so. All right, so the last thing we always do in these patch note videos, for those of you guys who went through all this, is give away some merch. And then after I do that, then I will talk about the 3.0 stuff for those of you guys who are still hanging on and interested in that. So I'm going to give you guys a hashtag. If you comment below with that hashtag and some other stuff, don't just spam me with this hashtag. Would love some more stuff to read when I'm going through collecting them all. Give me a funny story or something you love or hate about Sim Settlements. Give me a bug report, whatever you got, just something more than just this hashtag. I will draw one of your names in a couple of days and contact you via however you tell me to contact you. So of course, leave contact information via Nexus or Sim Settlements forums or Twitter or Facebook, something so I can DM you to give you your prize. I'm going to give away some Sim Settlements merch. So that hashtag for today is hashtag Chapter 3 Hype. So if you want to leave a message below. All right, now we'll get into my long-winded talk about the 3.0.0 patch and what you guys can expect. So like I said, I don't have a timeline on it, but the 3.0 patch will be compatible with your existing saves, so you don't have to start a new save for Chapter 3. In fact, you don't even necessarily have to download Chapter 3. You could download the 3.0.0 patch when it comes out. It will come out the same day as Chapter 3, probably a few hours before Chapter 3 launches, and basically it will update and add a bunch of new mechanics that are going to be part of the core mod, because most of the Chapter 3 mechanics won't actually require the Chapter 3 story. For those of you guys familiar with Conqueror, you're familiar with a lot of those mechanics, and you didn't actually need to play through our Raider story to use them, and it will be the same way with this. All these mechanics will be available for everybody who's got base SS2 installed. This is part of the reason that I have to go dark on this, because all those mechanics don't require Chapter 3. I have to bake them into the base mod, which means that they would get released as part of patches. So all of that is going to take me a while. I've got most of it working, but there are some core stuff that's not integrated with the rest of the mod that would feel very disconnected, and so I need a lot of time to do that. So in the interim, if you guys have any game-breaking issues that demand a hotfix, please report them ASAP on our forums. I am willing to hotfix over the next week or so before I get deep into the code and start getting to a point of no return where it would make patching nearly impossible. I'm going to wait a little bit to do that, but that is coming. And like I said, going to be a few months. I don't have a timeline yet. We're working as fast as we can because we really want to beat Starfield to market, and theoretically Starfield could be launching in the next couple of months because they did say it would be within the first half of 2023. I'm hoping they delay it again so I get more time to work on all this, but we're working as quickly as we can. We were trying to deliver you guys a much better experience. I know the last couple of launches have been a little rocky, a lot of hotfixes where basically for the first 5 or 6 weeks after a launch, I'm just hotfixing. So now we're just going to instead try and put that stuff on this end. So I'm going to just take those extra 5 or 6 weeks to actually to get some of these issues found earlier and fixed in advance so that you guys can have a much smoother experience. Now, inevitably, in a mod this complex, in a game this prone to breaking, we're still going to need some fixes, but my hope is that we don't have any game-breaking bugs or anything that bricks you guys on the main quest when we release the Chapter 3 story content. All right, I think that's enough long-windedness out of me. I will let you guys enjoy your day. Take care and enjoy the mods.